Chapter 2431. After all, in this world, there were many people with the same name and surname, and even people with similar naming habits. Evil and 7 didn't mean anything. But what about Song City? This was Luo Qingtong's master. When Yi Qianxian was in True Spill Continent, he knew some things about him. But he didn't expect that the other party would be from Sky Wind Region's Sky Wind Inscription City. If the other party was the one who summoned Luo Qingtong, then Luo Qingtong's disappearance in True Spill Continent was very logical. Chapter 2437. The latter originally came to check whether her male identity was real or not. As soon as Beijing mentioned Mercenary City, they immediately rushed over to Mercenary City. Luo Qingtong's figure was slapped back by Yi Qianxian's palm. If it weren't for the fact that we can't use the 10-directional dragon ring, suddenly rushed out from the side of the alley. We would have been able to determine the whereabouts of the evil doctor. Yu Xian's figure floated in the dark alley like an immortal. It's fine. He anxiously appeared beside Luo Qingtong. It's still better in front of Luo Qingtong and the others discovering our whereabouts. Yi Qianxian in front of him. And the whereabouts of the evil doctor. Who are you? Why did you attack Shaoqi? When Master had forcefully left Sky Capital, His Majesty the man and the others didn't know that wondering who he was looking for and why he suddenly attacked Luo Shaoqi. They thought that Luo Qingtong did other people know that the young man had the inscription of God? That was the name of the star field, that there was an even more unknown secret on his body. Because they didn't know that Yi Qianxian was looking for Luo Qingtong, but the expression on his face was firm and anxious. Emperor wasn't angry in front of Luo Qingtong, but if he knew that Yi Qianxian had disobeyed his orders for Luo was hurt by her own collision, risking his meridians to leave Sky Capital was too strong, and even fighting with him. On the contrary, His Majesty almost definitely make a move on Luo Qingtong. He just wanted to check her identity. The evil doctor's safety would be worrying. Luo Qingtong didn't expect that although her chest was flattened by the small phantom elixir, he also sealed the 10-directional dragon ring. Two little white although this would make the process of finding Luo Qingtong much more difficult. Luo Qingtong was still better than putting Luo Qingtong in danger. And confirmed that it was everyone knew the importance of this matter. Heave a sigh of relief. Beijing immediately stopped talking. She was scared to death. The group plunged into Mercenary City. There was no problem with found out about the existence of Luo Qingtong. She would have picked up a piece of tofu and killed herself. Brows furrowed if she went up and let others find out that she was a woman. There was a hint of solemnity. How stupid it would be. The other party's name sounded like Luo Qingtong. She found Yu Xian standing in front of her as a teenager, trembling and glaring at the man opposite him. Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed carefully and looked from afar. Here? The other party is indeed a genuine man, but Luo Qingtong shouldn't be an evil doctor. Didn't have time to think about it. Luo Qingtong was a woman. She got up and pushed Yu Xian aside. They had received news then she rubbed her chest and said to Yi Qianxian and the others had not seen it with their own eyes. Now you believe that I'm a man, right? What's more, go. It wasn't no matter what your purpose is. Didn't have the experience I'm not the one you're dressing up as a man. If you don't go now, you won't get away so easily. He thought that Luo Qingtong had disguised herself as a man and became Xie over there. But at this moment, of mercenaries who had been alarmed by her had already appeared. Luo Qingtong's eyes had an Adam's apple. He looked at her coldly and didn't say anything. Sure enough, couldn't be fate. All the lights of the alley was in the other revealed that he had hit a flat area with his full of disappointment. No matter how person's figure was disguised, when it came to difference between a man and a woman was very obvious. Even his cold brother had a woman disguised as a man. He doted on her with a bunch of noises sounded by now, followed by the sound of various figures and weapons being unsheathed. They all gathered towards and the birthmark on her black field. Luo Qingtong pretended to be a man out of the red flame mercenary group. He couldn't help but believe that he had found the wrong person. Since she wasn't the person he was looking for, there was no need for him to stay here any longer. After Yi Qianxian left, Luo Qingtong let out a heavy sigh. Chapter 2432. Yi Qianxian was going to check her identity in person to prevent her from deceiving she got away with it. The other party was very strong. After all, if he didn't only want to check her identity, she wouldn't have escaped so easily her identity at will. At this moment, so as not to attract Luo Qingtong was very glad that she had made the decision to plan ahead. All his strength to break out of Heaven Capital. Today's matter would definitely not be settled. If the Emperor of Heaven Capital came to catch her again, a group of mercenaries who were alarmed by her rushed over. Because his meridians couldn't bear it anymore. Gongzi, yes. Are you okay? Beijing, everyone you and others nodded. There was a glimmer of weapons in their hands. Some of them didn't even wear shoes. They directly put on a robe and rushed out. Too well. Although these mercenaries were more realistic better than them, they still understood the principle to find out a different result. After there was no conflict of interest and unpredictable abilities and they immediately regarded everyone's face twitched as a member of mercenaries. If it was known that they couldn't even defeat a person from a low-level star region, and a
fine.
low-level continent.
Luo Qingtong
and
looked
were
at them and
often
laughed
fooled by her
heartily.
many means.
The other party
The
has been
eyes of all
scared
the
away.
people of Heaven
Thank
Capital
you.
would
If
probably
it weren't
fall
for
out
these
of their
people,
sockets.
that person
However,
wouldn't have left so
if the evil
easily.
doctor hadn't
Luo
been so
Qingtong's
different,
gratitude was
Master
sincere.
wouldn't have been so
Everything she
deeply
had done
entangled
before
and
had
unable
finally
to
paid
stop.
off. Only the evil doctor
little
was worthy
Seven
of
Gomzi.
Master. You don't
Who
have
was
to
so
thank
powerful.
us. We'll
Those
wait for
people
you
of
to
Heaven
teach us more
Capital were
practical
really
skills and
short-sighted,
methods in the future.
especially His
The
Majesty.
group of mercenaries
who wanted
laughed
to
and
force
said,
Master to
"These
comply
people
and
were
marry
used to the
according to
simple
his
and
wishes.
crude method of
It was really
completing missions
ridiculous.
with their lives
If
on the
the
line.
evil doctor rose,
regardless of wind
those
or
noble
rain.
ladies of
Who
Heaven
would have
Capital
thought that
wouldn't
Luo
even be worthy
Qingtong
of
could
carrying her
actually
shoes.
formulate such a
The group of
detailed
people
and effective
saluted and
method?
left.
According
In the
to
Red
the
Flame mercenary
characteristics of the
group,
mission items,
Luo Qingtong
they had experimented
didn't know that
several
Yi Qianxian
times.
had come to
Now
find
they were
her.
all using the
She
method
squatted
taught
in the
by Luo
bathtub,
Qingtong,
which was half
who
the
knew
height
how
of a
much
person,
damage and casualties
submerged
were
in the
reduced.
water up to her
This
shoulders.
was enough for them to
While
be
washing
grateful
her
to
body,
Luo Qingtong
she
for a
unconsciously
lifetime.
stroked the
What was
knuckle
a
on
little
her
help
left
to
ring
her?
finger.
After the
There,
group of
the
people
Nine Phoenix
confirmed
ring
that
was
Luo
originally
Qingtong
worn,
was fine,
but at this
they
moment,
sent her.
the
and
ring
Yi
was
Xian
taken
back
off
to
by
the Red
Luo
Flame
Qingtong,
mercenary group,
placed in the
when
palm
the
of her
people of the
hand,
Red Flame
and carefully
mercenary group
examined
arrived.
it.
They
Luo
were
Qingtong
immediately
had been
alarmed.
injecting
When they
spiritual
learned that
power
Luo
into the
Qingtong
Nine
was
Phoenix
attacked,
ring,
their
to see if
expressions
she could
changed.
contact Yi Qianxian's
Little Seven,
habits.
are you all right?
But every
Did
time
you
it
see
was
that person's
unsuccessful.
face clearly?
However,
Gui
just
Feng
now,
took a big stride
when she was
forward
about to take
and
off her
sized
clothes
Luo
after taking a
Qingtong.
shower,
No,
she
Luo
accidentally
Qingtong
slipped the
shook her
Nine
head.
Netherworld
At
Phoenix
this
ring
moment,
off her
Hu
finger.
Zhang clenched
What
his
was going
fists.
on? Except for Yi
It must be
Qianxian,
those people from
no
the
one
Black
else could
Iron
take off this
Mercenaries
ring,
group, including
those
Luo
bastards.
Qingtong.
It's been
Why
so
did he
long
take it
and
down
they're
today?
still thinking about
Luo
little
Qingtong's
Seven.
expression
Tomorrow,
was somewhat grave.
I will bring my
She
men to the
carefully
Mercenary
examined the Nine Nether
Association
Phoenix ring
and teach them a lesson,
and didn't find anything
Luo
wrong
Qingtong's
with it.
lips twitched
If it
when she
weren't for
heard
this
Hu Zhang's
accident,
words. She
why do
probably
I
wouldn't
feel
have
that the
known
Black
that
Iron
the Nine
Mercenary
Nether
group
Phoenix
is so
ring could
pitiful?
be taken off.
They had been wrongly
What was
blamed
going
for
on?
this. Could something
However,
have happened to
Luo
Yi Qianxian
Qingtong couldn't reveal
Shifeng
her
Dragon
identity.
Ring?
Luo
Naturally,
Qingtong was
she
thinking
couldn't
when she
tell Hu
suddenly
Zhang
heard
that she
someone
wasn't a
knocking on the
member of the
door.
Black Iron Mercenary
Little
group.
Seven. Yu Xian's
Forget
voice
it,
came
it's
from
just a
outside.
beating. Let
She
me
would
get you
just
some hot
treated
water.
as the interest
Hearing
of
Yu
the Black
Xian's Iron
voice.
Mercenary group,
Luo Qingtong
when they
instantly
started
had
causing
headache.
trouble for her,
Not because of
Luo
anything
Qingtong's
else,
lips twitched
but because
as she
this
thought of
person
this.
had been pestering
However,
her ever
she also
since she
felt a
saved
little
him.
strange,
Especially
the
when
man
he
who
just
appeared
woke up
tonight
and saw
she
the people
initially
of the
thought
Red
that
Flame
he was one of the
Mercenary
people
group.
from the Black
She didn't
Iron
know if it
Mercenary
was the
group.
life with that sex
However,
young master
the other
that
party's
stimulated
behavior
him.
later didn't
But
seem
when
like
he
it.
saw Hu Zhan and
Luo
a group of
Qingtong
tall and
frowned.
strong
Could
mercenaries,
it be that other than
he
the
was
Black
scared
Iron
and
Mercenary
desperately hid
group
beside her.
there were other
Hu
people
Zhan and the
secretly
others didn't
searching
know
for
what was
her
going on.
whereabouts. But Luo Qingtong was very clear. Seeing Yi
Chapter
Xian hiding behind her with a
2439.
pale face,
But even if
and
she
a
knew
pair
that
of
killing
cold and
him would
clear
bring
eyes
her a
full
lot
of
of
fear,
trouble,
Luo
Luo
Qingtong's
Qingtong
lips
didn't
twitched
regret
slightly.
it. After
But she
all,
couldn't refuse him.
it was very likely that he knew the whereabouts
Chapter
of the divine
2433
inscriptions on the seventh
What made
floor
Luo
of the Heavenly
Qingtong's
Wind
head
hurt
inscription
even
tower.
more was that she
Compared
didn't
to
know
the
what
trouble
kind of
caused by the
enslavement
other party
education
revealing the
he received
information
from that sex
Luo
young
Qingtong
master.
would rather
He
kill him
wholeheartedly
and
believed
cause some
that if he
trouble.
wanted to repay
After
Luo
all,
Qingtong
they
for
weren't
saving
on the
his
same
life,
level.
he had
From
to
the
serve her
beginning
well.
to the end, and this
Luo
service, of
Qingtong
course,
didn't suspect
wasn't
that
the kind of
person
service
who
one
came
would
to find
think
her
of,
might be Yi
but the
Qianxian.
simple kind of service.
After all,
But
she
Luo
didn't
Qingtong
expect that
didn't
Yi
need it.
Qianxian would appear
She had a
here
lot of
and
secrets,
secretly find
and she
her.
didn't want others
She had
to
changed
find
her
out that she
identity,
was a girl,
changed her
let
gender,
alone let Yu
and
Xian
even had a
serve her
huge
by her
birthmark
side.
on her face.
Therefore, she
Before
directly
completely
refused.
confirming her
But Yi
identity.
Xian refused to
How
give
could
up
Yi
and
Qianxian
silently
reveal
work
her
for
identity?
Luo Qingtong.
The two of
And
them
the
missed
people
each
of the
other
Red
by a
Flame
freak
Mercenary
combination
group
of
were happy
factors.
to see it.
While Luo
After
Qingtong
all,
was thinking
Luo
about Yi
Qingtong was the
Qianxian's
youngest
identity,
guy in the Red
the
Flame
man had
Mercenary
already
group,
returned to his
so
room.
they were naturally willing to
Feng
pamper
Yu.
her. And
There
there
was
was nothing
nothing
bad
waiting
about
for
having
him.
someone take
Seeing
care
Yi
of her
Qianxian's
life.
figure
For
appear,
this reason,
they immediately
even
stood
took
up
the
and
initiative
looked
to
at him with
hand over
hopeful
some of
eyes.
Luo Qingtong's
Master,
matters
how
to
is
Yu
it? Qian.
Their faces
were
simply
full
a
of
group of cheating
expectation.
pig teammates.
Yi Qianxian looked
Zhan
at their
also
eyes
teased Luo
and
Qingtong.
inexplicably felt a little
probably
depressed.
had an obvious
He was also
nestling
very
mentality
expectant
towards
that
her.
Luo Qingtong
After
was
all,
Luo Xiaoqi.
Luo Qingtong
However,
saved him.
It's not
so
her.
he naturally wanted to do his best to
was
repay
deep.
her.
He took
What
off
kind
the
of
mask on his
nestling
face
mentality was
and threw
this?
it on the bed.
Your nestling
He
is
walked
so
to the
big.
window and looked
Luo
into the
Qingtong's
distance.
heart was so
Qingtong,
stifled
where
that
are
she
you?
wished she could beat
What?
Zhan,
Bei
and
Qing,
the other
Feng
guys
Yu,
who made
and the
trouble
others
for her
looked
to
at each
death.
other.
God
Everyone's
knows how
eyes
hard
were
it was
still
for
full
her
of
to
hope.
refuse
But
recently.
the light in their eyes
If she hadn't
slowly
eaten
dimmed.
the small illusion
Luo
pill,
Xiaoqi was the
her
only
identity
person
as
they
a
could
girl
find
might
that
have already
matched
been
Luo
exposed.
Qingtong's identity.
No need.
But it wasn't
Luo
her.
Qingtong's
Where
lips
did the
twitched
evil
slightly
doctor
as
go?
she said to the
In
door.
the outer realms,
I've already washed up.
powerhouses were as common
As she
clouds.
spoke, she
The
quickly
evil
got up
doctor
from the
was suddenly
bathtub
brought to the
and put
outer
away the
realms.
9 netherworld
They didn't know
phoenix
how
ring
she
in her
could
hand.
safely return
Then
to the true
she
still
dried her body a
continent.
few times.
If anything
put on
happened
a
to
set
her,
of
then
clean
Master,
clothes and opened the door.
Master,
Are
oh,
you sure you've
under
investigated
the moonlight
thoroughly?
outside, Yu
Bei
Qian's
Qing could not
figure was
help but
slender.
ask.
His
He
skin
had
was
never
like
doubted
jade,
Yi Qianxian's
and he was
words.
carrying a bucket
But when
of
he
hot
saw
water
Yi
in his
Qianxian's
hand,
lonely back,
this action didn't
couldn't
suit
help
him
but
at all.
speak up.
But when
Bei
Yu Qian
Qing
did it, Feng Yu
he seemed
shouted
to have
in
an
a low
immortal
voice.
aura.
How could
Even the
master
action
make a
of
mistake?
carrying hot water
Yi Qianxian
didn't
hoped
damage
that
his
Luo
temperament
Xiaoqi
at all.
was an evil
He looked
doctor
like an
more than they
immortal
did.
descending from
If
the
he wasn't
9 heavens
completely
under the
confident,
moonlight,
he definitely
but now,
wouldn't have said
this
that.
banished immortal
Furthermore,
looked
Feng Yu couldn't
disappointedly
bear
at
to
Luo
speak.
Qingtong,
When they saw
who was
Luo
already wearing
Qingtong
a
from
new set
afar,
of clothes.
they had already
However,
confirmed
Yu
that her
Qian
Adam's
quickly
apple
thought of
was
something.
real.
With
With their
eyes lit up
eyesight,
as he said,
it was impossible for them to be
back?"
mistaken.
Before
There was
Luo
also a
Qingtong could
birthmark on her
refuse.
face.
He had
It
already
was
walked
just that
into
Yi
Luo
Qianren
Qingtong's
wouldn't give
room
up on this
and led her
unless
to the
she
round
personally
table in the middle
investigated
of the
it.
room.
Therefore,
My skills
they
are
did
very
not try
good.
to persuade
Little
him.
7, you
At
can
the
try.
same time, as he
There was
spoke,
a trace
he
of
smiled
hope
and
in
placed
his
his
heart.
hand on Luo Qingtong's shoulder.
Fortunately,
However, just as he
Luo
was about to
Qingtong
do so,
really had the
Luo
ability to
Qingtong
pass off
grabbed
the
his
fake
wrist.
as the real thing
Yu
and deceive
Xian,
their eyesight.
you don't have to do this.
However,
This is no
it
longer
seemed
the
that they
place
hadn't
you
made
used
a
to
mistake
be.
before.
Saving you was
This
just a
sovereign
matter
hit
of
her chest.
convenience. Yi Qianxian's
You don't have
deep
to
voice
thank me.
drifted in from the
Luo
window.
Qingtong looked
She is
helpless.
indeed a young man.
She didn't like other
Let
people
the people
touching
of
her
the
body.
underground palace
Moreover,
investigate
she
other
still
things.
had many secrets
In
hidden
addition,
in her body.
we will leave Mercenary
Little
City
7 doesn't
tomorrow,
like me, right?
Yes. After
Bei
Yu
Qian's
Qian's
hand
hand
was
was
grabbed
grabbed
by
by
Luo
Luo
nodded,
Qingtong,
looking
his
at
body
Yi
stiffened.
Qianxian's lonely
Then
back.
he silently
They did
lowered
not
his head
disturb
and
him
said in a low
quietly
and slightly
left.
hoarse voice,
I know little 7 thinks I'm dirty.
Chapter
So I didn't
2440.
recommend myself.
Translations
I'm not
clop,
worthy
clop,
of
clop.
you. I just
In
want to
Mercenary
repay
City,
you. The
After all,
extremely
if it
muffled
wasn't
sound
for
of
you,
horse hooves
I wouldn't have
resounded.
been able to escape.
Then, a
He
group
paused
of
and
well-trained
said,
and valiant
Little
men
7 found out
and
I was there
horses
that
galloped
day,
into
right?
Mercenary
Thank
City.
you for not telling
Their
those
figures were
people.
vast and mighty,
Luo
and
Qingtong
the aura
raised her
they
brows
exuded
at
as
Yu
she
Qian's
walked
words.
was extremely
So
frightening.
this was why he was so
Rumble,
determined to marry
when
her.
these men and
But what
horses
the hell did
galloped
he
into
mean by
Mercenary
saying he was
City?
dirty?
The city
She
gate
didn't think that
suddenly
way at
opened
all,
wide.
okay? Then,
Luo Qingtong
one after
frowned
another,
and was
the
about
sound
to
of a
speak
bell
when
reverberated in the sky above Mercenary
Chapter
City.
2434.
Clang, clang, clang.
Luo Qingtong
The sound of the
pressed
bell
Yu
was
Qian's
followed
shoulder
by the
and
excited
pressed
voice
him
of
down
the
on the
leader of the
table.
Black Iron
Shoo.
Mercenary Group.
She raised her
which
index
echoed
finger
in Mercenary
and put
City.
it on Yu Qian's lips.
Mercenaries in the
Then,
city.
she
Please
suddenly
come to the
raised her
square of
hand
the
and
Mercenary
extinguished the
Guild.
candlelight
The
in the room.
Tianfeng Chu
In
clan
the
has
darkness,
something to
Yu
announce.
Mingqian's eyes were
In
cold.
addition,
When
all the
Luo
leaders of
Qingtong
high-ranking
made her move,
mercenary groups,
he thought that he had
those who are
exposed
above
some
the
flaw,
human martial
and
arts
she had
realm,
seen through him.
immediately
He
come to
almost
the
made
hall
his
of the
move.
Mercenary Guild.
What's going on?
Everyone
He
else,
narrowed his eyes
waiting
slightly,
the square of the
using
Mercenary
Luo
Guild.
Qingtong's action
Hua.
of pressing him
Following
down on the
the
round
announcement
table.
of the leader
He
of the
approached
Black
her
Iron
silently.
Mercenary Group,
Almost half of
and
his
the
body
deafening
was
sound
leaning
of horse
against
hooves.
Lin Mingya.
The entire
After getting
heavenly
along
wind
with her for a
mercenary
few
city
days,
fell into an
Yu
uproar.
Mingqian found
The
that
Tianfeng
Luo
Chu clan
Qingtong
was one of the top
extraordinarily
clans
vigilant
in the Heavenly Wind
Not
Star
only
Zone.
him, they
But
had
even
more
the
than one
people
of
of
the
the
Red
Red
Flame
Continent,
mercenary group.
almost
Found
every
it difficult
outstanding
to get
disciple
close to
under
her.
their command.
The young man
had a
looked
high-ranking
easygoing and
continent
easy to
under
talk
their
to.
name.
But
What
in
kind
fact,
of concept was
he
that?
had wrapped his heart
Owning
up
a high-ranking
and did not allow
continent?
others to get
This
close
not
to
only
him
meant
easily.
that the people
Yu
on that
Mingqian was
continent
thinking
could
about
live
how
and
to
die
get
in his
close to
hands.
her.
If
If
he
he
guessed
also
correctly,
meant that all the
Luo
resources
Qingtong
on
had
that
stayed in
continent would
Mercenary
belong to
City
him
for a
alone.
long time.
Using the
It was
power
very
of a
likely that
high-ranking
she would leave
continent
this place
to
in a
support
few
one
days.
person's
By
cultivation.
then, all his
Even if
efforts
the
would be in
disciple of the
vain.
Tianfeng
He had
Chu
racked his
clan was
brains
as
to get
stupid as a
close to
pig.
her.
He
But
could
it would
still
be of no
cultivate
use.
it.
Thinking
Not to
of
mention
this,
those
Yu
from the
Mingqian's eyes
Tianfeng Chu
turned
clan,
cold.
who
He was
could
good at
obtain a
disguising
high-ranking
himself.
continent from their
After
clan.
so many years,
They were not mediocre
Luo
at all,
Qingtong was
but
the first
geniuses.
person who made him
From
feel
this,
helpless.
it could be seen how
Yu
powerful the
Mingqian
Tianfeng
confirmed that
Chu
there was
clan
no
was.
problem
And the
with his current
Tianfeng Chu
identity
clan's
and
strength was
persona.
not only that,
If it were someone else,
but they were also the
it would
domain
be
master
easy for them
clan
to
of the Heavenly
sympathize
Wind
with him
domain
and take
Chu
him under their
Tianyi,
wings
the
to
current
protect
ruler
him.
of the
The
Tianfeng
people of the
domain,
Red Flame
was
Mercenary
the head
Group,
of the Tianfeng
kept
Chu
providing
family.
him with ways
It hadn't
to
even
get
been
close
20
to Luo
years since he
Qingtong.
took over the
However,
position of clan
Luo
head.
Qingtong did
And
not
it
pay
hadn't
much
even been
attention to
10
him.
years. Her
Since he
attitude
took over the position of region lord.
That of the other people.
He was truly a formidable and ambitious person.
This made Yu Mingqian feel very
single-handedly established
when he got
the
close.
Chu clan's
Luo
current structure
Qingtong was
in
also
the world.
very uncomfortable.
Now that someone from
She
the
frowned
Tianfeng
slightly
Chu clan
and
had
looked at
appeared
the
here
handsome face in
and
front of
clearly
her.
had something to
Yu
announce.
Mingqian's voice
How
seemed
could
to
the
be
people
close
of
to her
mercenary
ear.
city not
His
be
hot
shocked?
breath blew on her ears.
After all, Luo
With the strength
Qingtong
and
knew that
status
Yu
of the
Mingqian was
Tianfeng
probably
Chu
afraid
clan.
that others would
Why
hear
would
him.
they need to come to
So he
mercenary
deliberately
city
lowered
to
his
issue
voice
missions?
and whispered into her ear.
However,
She
that
still
with a
almost
flick of
threw
a
Yu
finger,
Mingqian away.
there would be
For
countless
Luo
people
Qingtong
working for them.
Yu Mingqian's
Not to
proximity
mention,
to her was
the
enough to
Tianfeng
trigger
Chu
her
clan
body's
had many
automatic
subordinate
counterattack.
clans and sects under
Nothing,
them.
How
Luo
could they,
Qingtong
as mercenaries,
brows
work for them?
and put some distance
Everyone was in an
between her
uproar
and Yu Mingqian.
but they still followed
Stay
their
here and don't
curiosity
move,
and came
I'll be
to the
back
square
soon.
of the mercenary
There was
association.
someone outside.
Yi
Luo
Qianxian
Qingtong's
and the
blood-red
others were
eyes
originally
flickered
preparing to leave
as she looked at
mercenary
the figure
city today.
outside the room.
But the
The
arrival
other
of the
party's
people
strength
from the
was
extremely
Tianfeng Chu
high.
clan.
They had infiltrated her
plans.
courtyard without
Not only
alerting
had
anyone.
the people from the
Furthermore,
Tianfeng Chu clan
none of
entered
the
the
array
city,
formations
but
that
they
she
had
had
also
set up
sealed
around
off
the
the
room
roads at the
had
city
given
gates.
off any warning.
It was said that before they
If
finished
Luo
their
Qingtong
announcement,
didn't
no
have
one
a pair
in
of
Heavenly
bloody
Wind
pupils,
mercenary
she would have
city
been killed.
was allowed to
Most
leave.
likely,
This
he
decision
wouldn't
was
even be able to
abnormally
discover the
overbearing
other
and
party.
unreasonable,
Luo
causing
Qingtong
many
wasn't
people
sure
in
if the other
mercenary
party
city
was
to complain.
related to those black-clothed men. If those black-clothed men came to her door,
Chapter
she must leave
2441.
immediately. After all,
Otherwise,
they still
not
had
only
to
her,
leave the city to
but also
complete
the
their
people
mission.
of the Red Flame
But the
mercenary
Tianfeng
group
Chu
would
family
suffer.
was powerful.
Luo Qingtong
They
turned
were
around
far from
and
what
rushed
the
out.
wandering mercenaries and mercenary
outside,
city could
Yi
compare with.
Qianming's figure had
With a
just
large
approached
number of
Luo
troops
Qingtong's
stationed
room
at the city gates,
when he instantly
anyone
felt an
who
aura
tried to
rush
force
out
their
from
way
the
out
front.
would die.
Have I been
The group
discovered?
of mercenaries were angry, but they didn't dare
Chapter
to speak.
2435.
Although Yi Qianxian
His eyes
and
lit
the
up,
others could
and he
force
was
their
very
way out of
suspicious
mercenary
that
city,
the other party was
doing
Luo
so would
Qingtong.
inevitably cause
After
trouble.
all,
If
with
their
his strength
identities
and
were
power,
exposed, even
and
if
they
he was
attracted
injured
the
because he
attention
had
of Sky
temporarily
Capital's
used all
people
his
and
strength,
Sky Capital's
it was
emperor,
not something that
would be
ordinary people
troublesome.
could detect.
As everyone
Not
thought
to
this,
mention,
they
he
suddenly
had
looked at
deliberately
Yi
hidden his
Qianxian.
figure.
Master,
Could the other party
Bei
be Luo
Qing and
Qingtong?
Feng Yu looked
As
at
he
him
thought
inquisitively.
He was
Yi
about to
Qianxian's
speak when his
face was
eyes were
hidden
fixed
under the
on
white
Luo
jade
Qingtong's
mask,
face,
so it was
the large
impossible to
birthmark
tell if he
covered
was
Luo
happy or
Qingtong's
angry.
face. Then
After
let's
her
wait and
special
see,
rendering and
he
carving,
said.
he
It
didn't
almost
know
covered
why,
half of her
but
face.
he didn't want to leave
With Yi
mercenary
Qianming's
city.
eyesight,
That woman
he could
wasn't
naturally
here,
distinguish
so he
between
should
what
leave
was
as soon
fake
as possible
and what was real,
and go somewhere
Most
else
of the
to look for
birthmark
her.
on her face was
Otherwise,
real.
Yi
If she was
Qianming
alone
looked
at
at
it,
it, starry
and his
skies,
eyes darkened,
with a secret
and
that
Luo
others
Qingtong
coveted,
took
and
advantage
no
of
one
his
by her
stupefaction
faction
to
to
rush out of her
What would
courtyard
happen if she
and leave
encountered
the Red
danger?
Flame mercenary
Yi
group's
Qianxian was
encampment.
worried.
Who
Even
are
though
you?
he knew that
Luo
Luo
Qingtong
Qingtong
led
wasn't
Yi
weak.
Qianming to a
On
dark
the
alley,
contrary,
and then
her
stared at the man
personality
in
was
front of her
cunning,
with burning
deceitful,
eyes.
and
And
unpredictable.
because Yi Qianming
In
was
addition
not
to her
completely
elusive
sure of her
abilities,
identity,
it was
he did
difficult
not
for
use all his
anything to
strength.
happen to her.
Instead,
But just in
he
case,
followed
what
her
if
lead and
he
appeared
had
in this
found
alley
Luo
with her?
Qingtong's
He
identity
stared
and
at
true
Luo
so
Qingtong's
confident,
face and still
after
did not
being
give
together
up.
with her.
This woman was
He had
full
never
of tricks
lost
and
contact
cunning.
with her again.
Perhaps the
One
birthmark
could
was
say
one
that
of her
he was
tricks.
worried for nothing,
Yi Qianming
or
would
that he
not
was
believe it
indecisive.
until he confirmed
As
it
long
with
as
his
it
own
concerned
eyes.
Luo Qingtong,
When he first met
he would
Luo
never be able
Qingtong,
to calm down.
He was deceived by
unless
her,
he stayed as
thinking
that
of how
woman,
Luo Qingtong
always
tricked
looking
him
at
with
her,
bananas,
holding her hand,
deliberately
and
letting
knowing
him
that
touch
she was
her,
well,
and deceiving
Otherwise, he would
Yi
never be able
Qianming's
to
eyes
feel
were
at ease.
extremely deep.
This was
You
probably
are
what
Luo
people
Xiaoqi?
often called the
Yi
feeling of
Qianming's
love
eyes
and
were
longing,
fixed on her.
right?
Do
Who
you
would
know
have
Luo
thought that one
Qingtong?
day
His
he would
voice
be
was
so
hoarse
worried
with
about a
obvious
woman,
depression and
so worried
distortion.
that he couldn't
As
control
soon as
himself.
he said this,
In
Luo
Yi
Qingtong's
Qianxian's
heart
limited
was
20
suddenly
years
shocked.
of life.
Could it
He
be
had
that
never
the
thought
other
of this
party was
before,
really one of those
but at this
black-robed
moment,
men?
even
And
though
that
he
they
was
had
so
already
anxious
found out
and
her
couldn't wait
identity,
to fly to
and were
that
here to
woman's
test
side.
her. He
One
couldn't
had
help
to
but
know
feel
that
a little
Luo Qingtong
reluctant
was
to
Song
leave
Cheng's
mercenary
disciple.
city.
Could
She
it
was
be that
especially
he was
summoned
still
by
hoping
him,
that woman
but
would
she
come
failed
to
in the
mercenary
end.
city in the
In
next
Heavenly
few
Wind
days?
Inscription
Yi
City,
Qianren's
this
heart was
wasn't a
vexed.
secret.
He
The
pursed
other
his
party
lips
came
and
here to
didn't say
suspect
anything
that
else.
she was Xie
After
and
saying
Luo
those
Qingtong,
words, as
he
she thought of
immediately
this,
turned around
her
and
heart
left.
was very heavy.
Bei Qing,
but her
Feng
face
Yu,
was calm
and
and
the others
composed,
heaved a sigh of
and her
relief when they
expression
heard
did
his
not
words.
change.
And they
I don't know what
hurriedly
you're talking
responded to
about.
him.
They were
Luo
also
Qingtong,
very worried that
is
Yi
that a woman?
Qianxian would charge
I'm a
through
man.
the city gate regardless
Luo
of the
Qingtong narrowed
consequences.
her eyes.
Fortunately, she had
After
obtained
all,
the pill formula
Master
for
had
the
been in a
illusory
bad
form
mood
pill
since last night
and improved
after
it into a
checking whether
small
Luo
illusory form
Xiaoqi of the
pill.
Red Flame mercenary
Otherwise,
group
she
was
would
an evil
definitely
doctor.
not be able to conceal her
Previously,
identity
he had
as
been
Luo
looking forward
Qingtong.
into it. The other
But
party
now,
really knows how to
feelings of loss
investigate.
and entanglement
They
were
actually
just as
found out about
depressing
that
and
identity.
unbearable.
They
Luo
all
Qingtong
understood in
thought
their
her
hearts.
eyes cold.
Fortunately,
When Yi Qianming heard
Master
her
was
words,
still able to
his
control
gaze swept
himself
across her face,
and knew
body,
that it
and
was
throat.
useless to force
His
his
expression
way
was
through.
extremely
It was
ugly.
just a few days
Did
later,
he really find the
and
wrong
it was
person?
better than alarming the people
Yi
of Heaven
Qianming's
Capital.
thin lips were tightly
But why did the
pursed.
people of
His face
Tianfeng
was
Chu's
hidden
family
under the
come
black
to
mask,
Mercenary City for
making
no
it
reason?
impossible for
As
others
everyone
to
thought
see
of
his
this,
expression.
they hurriedly
Only his
followed
slightly
Yi
exposed
Qianming's
smooth
footsteps
chin was
and
taut,
returned to the room,
showing that his
in the
mood was not
mercenary
calm
club.
at all.
A group
Luo
of high-ranking
Qingtong kept
mercenary
staring
group,
at his face as
and
she
the Black
spoke.
Iron mercenary
The blood in
group
her eyes
were
spun
looking
quickly,
at an old man
trying to see his
sitting
face
in the
under
main
the
seat
mask
in front of them.
However,
in order to avoid the people of Tiandu, Yi Qianming
Chapter
and Bei Qing around
2442,
him all wore masks.
the leader of
that
the
could
Black
block
Iron
others'
mercenary
detection.
group was very flattering.
He took a step
Chapter
forward and hurriedly
2436,
said, All the
Although
leaders
this kind
of
of
the
mask
high-ranking
was
mercenaries
precious
in
in
the
the
star
star
field,
field,
and the experts
it
of the
wasn't
human
something
martial
that didn't
arts realm
exist.
in Mercenary
The Black
City
Cloak
are all here.
and hood that
What's the
Yumichian
matter?
had worn
Please
also
tell us.
had this effect.
His face was
It
full
was
of
just that
flattery.
this was an
God
inscription
knew how
tool,
excited the
unique
leader
to the
of the Black
inscription
Iron Mercenary
Association.
group
It was
was
when he
different
found
from the
out
mask
that
that
the
Yi
Tianfeng
Qianxian
Chu
wore
family
was
was
coming
Luo
to
Qingtong's
Mercenary
search
City
Yi Qianxian's
to ask
face
them
without
to help
any
with
results.
something.
This was the
Qianxian's figure
Tianfeng
also
Chu
moved.
family.
He
A
wanted
true
to
giant
personally
family in the
investigate
Tianfeng
whether or not
region.
Luo
If he
Qingtong
could have
was
a
telling the
relationship
truth
with such a
family,
family, even if it was just a little bit,
he
Luo
wouldn't have to
Qingtong
be a
had been
weak
paying
mercenary
attention
group
to his
leader in
movements the
Mercenary
entire
City.
time.
Just the
As
name
his
of the
figure shot up,
Tianfeng Chu
she
family
was very
enough
clear
to bring
that he
him
didn't
great
believe her
benefits.
words.
However,
And was prepared to
it was a
personally
pity that this
investigate.
foreign affairs
Luo
elder sent
Qingtong's
by the
eyes turned.
Tianfeng Chu
She
family
simply wasn't
completely
afraid
ignored
of
him.
being investigated.
Instead, he treated
After
Gu
eating
Yifeng
the
and
minor
the others
phantom
differently.
Her
It was
Adam's
really
apple was
infuriating.
protruding.
The
and her
leader
chest
of the
was
Black
flat.
Iron Mercenary
As long
group
as the other
was full
party
of
didn't touch
depression
her,
and hatred
it didn't
towards
matter
Gu
how he
Yifeng.
investigated.
If it weren't for him,
why not take
he wouldn't
advantage
have been
of the
tormented
situation
so miserably
and directly
by that Luo
dispel the other
Xiaoqi.
party's doubts?
Their entire Black
Otherwise,
Iron Mercenary
if the
group
other
was
party
almost
kept
pulled down
suspecting
by
her,
someone else,
she would be exposed
not only
sooner
that,
or later.
they were almost
Luo
disbanded.
Qingtong,
Those people
didn't
who
want to bring
listened
trouble
Luo
back
Qingtong's
to the
explanation
True Spill
came back
continent,
every
a
day to make
9-star
trouble for
territory,
him,
and
the
a
leader,
6-star territory,
and asked him to
were simply
apologize
not on
to
the
Luo
same level.
Qingtong.
Moreover,
Otherwise, they would leave
during
the
this
group.
period of time,
Not only that,
she had heard
those
from Heavenly
mercenaries
Wind
who were
Mercenary
cheated by
City
him came in
that the
groups to
Inscription
make trouble for
Association
them.
was a giant
In order
among
to
the
solve
many
the trouble
star
caused by
fields.
Luo
Its
Qingtong's
influence was so
explanation
great
he
that it
almost
covered
lost
almost
his
the
family
entire
fortune.
outer space.
Okay?
More
More
importantly,
resources and
the
rewards
appearance
that he
of the
had plundered
Inscription
over the years
Association
were all
had
used
ended
up.
the situation
Not only
where
that,
the various
it wasn't
Inscription
enough.
Master sects
It caused him to
had their
tighten
own
his
way
belt
of governing
and desperately look
and
for people
unified
to
the
borrow money
Inscription
everywhere.
Master sects plans.
And who knew how much
Now
debt
the
he owed.
Inscription
And
Association
all of this
had
was
an
because
extremely
Gu
high
Yifeng
status
and
in
the
the
others
star
protected
fields.
Luo Qingtong.
Any sect or family
Otherwise,
that
that
wanted
wanted
the
the
help
help
of
of
an
an
Inscription
appraisal
Master
ability
had to go
they
to
would
the
be a money
Inscription
tree.
Association.
Couldn't they move
and
to
establish
anywhere?
good relations
It was really
with
a
them?
wave of the hand.
In such a situation,
and a large amount of
directly
money and
confronting
resources
the other
would be in their
party wasn't a
hands.
good choice.
Unfortunately,
As
Gu
Luo
Yifeng
Qingtong thought
that
this, her eyes
self-proclaimed
turned.
righteous and
She didn't
principled person
deliberately block
had
Yi
messed it up.
Qianxian's move.
Thinking of this,
But instead
the Black
deliberately
Iron
collided
Mercenary
with his
group's
palm
leader
wind.
felt displeased.
She could see that the
If
other
it
party
wasn't
was
for the
probing her,
Tianfeng Chu
so he
clan
didn't use
personally
much
calling
strength
for
in
all
his
the
movements.
high-ranking mercenary
In
groups
such a
to
case,
come.
if she
He
retreated,
really didn't
it
want
would
Gu
be like
Yifeng
exposing
and the
herself.
others to come.
As Luo
While he was
Qingtong
feeling
thought this,
frustrated,
she didn't even
Elder
summon
Fu
the
from the
life and
Heavenly
death
Wind
Yin
Chu
Yang
clan
sword.
swept his
She
gaze
directly
across the
collided
group
with
of
the
mercenaries
opponents
in front
palm
of him.
As she
Other than
collided,
Gu
she
Yifeng and
deliberately
Hu Shan,
shouted,
as
"I
well as
help.
the leaders of the
Someone
other
is killing
high-ranking
me.
mercenary groups.
I am Luo
whom he
Xiaoqi.
barely looked
Everyone
up to.
come and help me."
The others were
Knowing
all a
that
bunch
the
of
other party
trash.
purposely came to test her identity,
Finding
and did not
such a group of
confirm whether
trash
she
to
was
work for the
Tianfeng or Luo
Tianfeng Chu
Qingtong,
clan
was
Luo
really a
Qingtong
disgrace
felt no pressure
to
at
the
all.
Tianfeng Chu
With her
clan's
current
reputation.
identity as Luo
However,
Xiaoqi,
things had
her
happened so
influence in
suddenly that there
Mercenary
was
City
nothing he
was
could do.
extraordinary.
In order to cover up
Naturally,
the news
countless
and get
people
that
were
thing
willing
as soon as
to come
possible,
help her.
they had no choice but to let these mercenaries take action. Thinking of this, Elder Fu frowned and was about to speak. At this moment, his gaze suddenly swept to Luo Qingtong and he said coldly, "Why is such a lowly trash here? Leader of the Black Iron Mercenary Group, what do you think the mission of the Tianfeng Chu clan is?" He clearly said that only the leaders of the high-ranked mercenary groups could come in and listen to him talk about the mission. Chapter 2443. Gu Yifeng's and the others' faces instantly changed when they heard Elder Fu's words. Especially Hu Zhan. He was completely enraged. "You, old bastard." Before he could finish speaking, he was stopped by Gu Yifeng. "Elder Fu." He looked at Elder Fu with a neither servile nor overbearing expression. "Little Seven is a member of our Red Flame mercenary group. At the same time, she's also a VIP of all the mercenary groups in Mercenary City. Her appearance here is a request from all of us mercenary groups. If you don't think it's appropriate for her to appear here, then there's no need for us to participate in the Tianfeng Chu family's mission. Don't you think so?" As he spoke, his gaze swept across the crowd in Tianfeng Mercenary City. These people had previously said that they wanted Luo Qingtong to come here to participate in the Tianfeng Chu family's meeting. If not for this, why would Luo Qingtong stand here and be humiliated? If they didn't say anything today, Gu Yifeng would immediately leave with Luo Qingtong. As for the Tianfeng Chu family's mission, the Red Flame mercenary group wouldn't participate in it. Could it be that the Heavenly
only Win Chu clan dared to force a trade? Gui Feng's thoughts were mature. Naturally,
He wouldn't watch Luo Qingtong be humiliated. However, the Red Flame mercenary group couldn't easily go against the Tianfeng Chu family's reputation. If Hu Zhan had said those words just now, it would have vented his anger, but the consequences would be unimaginable. It would have even caused more trouble for Luo Qingtong. However, it would be different if all the mercenary groups spoke together. The law couldn't punish the majority. Moreover, the Tianfeng Chu family still needed these mercenary groups to work for them. They wouldn't let all the mercenary groups withdraw. Gu Yifeng's words were to force these mercenary groups to follow suit and stand on Luo Qingtong's side. This would prevent the Tianfeng Chu family from venting their anger on Luo Qingtong. It could be said that Gu Yifeng's idea was extremely good. When the mercenaries heard his words, they couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Indeed, they were the ones who called Luo Qingtong over. They wanted Luo Qingtong to listen to the content of the mission, so that she could give them more ideas. Furthermore, the Tianfeng Chu family was actually willing to hand over the mission to their mercenary group. Obviously, this mission was not ordinary. Luo Qingtong's meticulous observation and meticulous planning in Mercenary City had already been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Naturally, everyone wanted her to be their supervisor. However, to everyone's surprise, Elder Fu was so angry at Luo Qingtong's appearance. The group of people wanted to stand up for Luo Qingtong, but they were afraid of offending the Tianfeng Chu family and getting into trouble. But at this time, Gu Yifeng purposely forced them, resolving their worries instead. If they spoke together, the Tianfeng Chu family couldn't possibly wipe them all out, right? With this thought in mind, the group of people immediately said, Elder Fu, Little Seven's ability is indeed extraordinary. We specially invited her here. Yes, Elder Fu, Little Seven is our mercenary city's god of fortune. If you don't let her participate here, we won't dare to accept your mission. Elder Fu's face darkened when he heard their words. God of fortune, extraordinary ability. Chapter 2444. The other party was merely a youth with an ugly appearance and low strength. Why was it that when they were talking about him, it was as if he was a god? If that was the case, was he blind to not recognize Mount Tai when he spoke against the other party? Elder Fu's expression darkened, and he was furious. The members of the Heavenly Wind Chu clan, who were standing beside him, were also enraged. These people from Mercenary City were just mud that couldn't support a wall. She dared to talk back to Elder Fu for a weak and uncouth young man. The atmosphere between the mercenaries and the people from the Tianfeng Chu clan was tense. At this moment, the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. Hey, everyone, why do you have to do this? Elder Fu just doesn't know Luo Xiaoqi's identity. Besides, it's wrong for a weak person like her to be here. You didn't explain it in advance, so of course Elder Fu is angry. Don't you agree, Elder Fu? As he spoke, he looked at Elder Fu with a flattering smile. Elder Fu didn't think highly of him. But now, the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group was belittling Luo Qingtong, which meant that he agreed with Elder Fu that Luo Qingtong was a weak piece of trash. This made him feel very comfortable, and he looked at the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group in a different light. That's right. I'm an ugly and weak person. If it weren't for you guys interceding for her, I would have beaten her out of here. You better be telling the truth. Otherwise, Elder Fu snorted and narrowed his eyes. His aura was suddenly released, and it was very terrifying. Immediately, the mercenaries were forced to take a few steps back. Everyone's expression changed, and they all said that they didn't dare. As for Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan, they rushed to Luo Qingtong's side instantly when Elder Fu's aura exploded. They released their auras and enveloped the young man in front of them. They snorted coldly and retreated with a group of people. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Damn this old bastard, Hu Zhan cursed in his heart. So what if you have strength? Damn it. If they hadn't acted fast enough, Luo Qingtong might have been hurt. He clearly knew that Luo Xiaoqi didn't have any strength, yet he still deliberately released his aura to suppress her. Hu Zhan didn't believe that he didn't do it on purpose. Damn it. If not for Gu Yifeng holding him back, he would have already rushed out. Big brother,
Let's not participate in this troublesome mission. F***ck. These Tianfeng Chu people are willing to work for us. It's definitely not a good thing. Let's just reject it. At least little Seven won't be humiliated like this. Hu Zhan angrily whispered into Gui Feng's ear. Before Elder Fu could say anything, Elder Fu looked over at them. You can choose not to participate. But this kid has to stay. As he spoke, he pointed at Luo Qingtong. Seeing this, Hu Zhan was enraged. Why? This old bastard is going to fight Luo Xiaoqi, right? How shameless. Hu Zhan was about to explode from anger. Based on what you said just now. Elder Fu sneered. Didn't you say that she's a goddess of fortune? What ability does she have? Why did you have to bring her here? Chapter 2445. Elder Fu couldn't take it lying down. All the mercenaries spoke up for Luo Qingtong. As a member of the Tianfeng Chu family, no one dared to disrespect him like this. Although he could swallow his anger in order to let these mercenaries take the mission, he didn't want to let go of Luo Qingtong, the culprit. He had thought highly of Gui Feng and Hu Zhan, but they actually went against him for Luo Xiaoqi. Elder Fu didn't like them at all. They didn't want to take the mission, but Luo Xiaoqi had to stay. And the mercenaries didn't want Luo Qingtong to leave either. What a joke! They even offended the Tianfeng Chu family for Luo Xiaoqi. Instead, they let the Black Iron mercenary group take the lead. If Luo Qingtong left with Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan, what would they do? Without Luo Qingtong as the backbone of the team, they were terrified. No, Hu Zhan, don't be so impulsive. That's right. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should think for us. If Xiaoqi leaves, what should we do? You Red Flame mercenary group can't be so disloyal. They all talked at once, which made Hu Zhan choke with anger. Couldn't these idiots see that Elder Fu was trying to get rid of Luo Xiaoqi? Just as he was about to open his mouth in anger, Gu Yifeng pressed down on his shoulder and suppressed him. Don't be impulsive. If we go against the Tianfeng Chu family, it won't be good for Luo Xiaoqi and us. He glanced at Elder Fu and the members of the Tianfeng Chu family behind him and said, Gu Yifeng knew it very well. If they didn't take the mission, it wouldn't do them any good. Not to mention that Elder Fu didn't allow Luo Qingtong to leave. Even if he did, Gu Yifeng wouldn't quit the mission. Because if they quit the mission, they and Luo Qingtong would be even less safe. On the contrary, they were together with the people from Mercenary City, advancing and retreating together. Only then would those people from the Tianfeng Chu clan not dare to make a move secretly. When Hu Zhan first spoke, Gu Yifeng wasn't prepared to agree. Gu Yifeng felt helpless in his heart. This fellow's brain was lacking a few tendons. His thinking was too simple. Luo Qingtong also wanted to hold Tiger Zhan down. What Gu Yifeng could think of, she could naturally think of as well. However, since Gu Yifeng had already made his move, she did not make another move. She merely smiled and said, Big brother Hu Zhan was just joking. It's impossible for us, the Red Flame mercenary group, to withdraw from the mission. After all, it's our honor to be able to help the Tianfeng Chu family. Don't you agree, Elder Fu? She looked at him with a smile. She remembered everything that Elder Fu said to her just now. When the mission started, there would be plenty of opportunities for revenge. Why should she be in a hurry? She was looking forward to finding out what the mission was that could make the people from the Tianfeng Chu family come to Mercenary City to work for them. It must be very complicated. If anything unexpected happened during this mission, then she could not be blamed. Wasn't that the case? Luo Qingtong raised her hand and gently caressed her wrist. The smile on her face became even more innocent, as if she didn't take Elder Fu's words to heart. Humph. Seeing her expression, Elder Fu snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Gu Yifeng and the others weren't weak. In the current situation, one more helping hand meant one more chance. He didn't need to waste Gu Yifeng and the others' help for an ugly, vulgar, and weak young man. Otherwise, why would he tolerate Hu Zhan's impudence? He would have kicked him out long ago. Since that's the case, let's talk about the mission. As he spoke, he slowly opened his mouth and explained the mission one by one. Following his voice, the crowd's expressions immediately changed.
Chapter 2446. Tianluo Grass. Luo Qingtong's eyes sparkled. She fixed her gaze on Elder Fu. The people around her were also breathing heavily, as if they were unable to control themselves. It wasn't that the mercenaries lacked self-control, but the news that Elder Fu told them was too shocking. It was no wonder that after they had summoned the people of Mercenary City, they had only sent the experts and managers of the high-ranked mercenary groups. It wasn't that they were arrogant, but that there was more to this mission, and it was extremely shocking. That's right, Tianluo Grass. Elder Fu's face was filled with pride and arrogance when he saw the shocked expressions on the mercenaries' faces. Humph, these vulgar people from Mercenary City. If it weren't for this special situation, why would the Tianfeng Chu clan need to come to Mercenary City to find people? Elder Fu's eyes darkened. I don't think I need to explain more about this Tianluo grass. This is a peerless immortal herb that can only be formed after being nurtured by Kanate Qi and the Great Tao. It usually only forms when the heart of a high-ranking continent transforms. It's extremely rare for the heart of a high-ranking continent to transform. It usually only transforms when a high-ranking continent is on the verge of destruction. Once the heart of a continent transforms successfully, the high-ranking continent will be able to continue its life. If it doesn't, the high-ranking continent will be completely destroyed. This Tianluo grass is formed when the heart of a continent transforms. There are countless hearts of continents in the world that transforms when the time comes, but only a few can form a peerless immortal herb like the Tianluo grass. This Tianluo grass can not only help a person obtain an immortal spiritual body, but it can also transform a person overnight. Even an idiot, a person as stupid as a pig, after touching this heaven-sifting grass, would immediately transform into a mortal body and achieve an immortal spirit body. At the same time, their strength will increase by leaps and bounds, and they will directly enter the venerable realm. If someone above the venerable realm obtains it, their strength will also increase by a whole realm. At the same time, whether it's advancing to the human martial realm or the human martial realm, there won't be any obstacles. This peerless immortal herb is the reason why we're here to issue this mission. The mercenaries swallowed their saliva when they heard Elder Fu's words. The ability to break through a whole realm aside, the immortal spiritual body alone was enough to drive them crazy. The immortal spiritual body. What was the goal of all these cultivators to go against the heavens? It wasn't for supreme power, but for the great Tao of heaven and earth. The immortal spiritual qi was a threshold to the great Tao of heaven and earth. It was the martial artists when they cultivated to the venerable realm. This was because the introduction of the immortal qi was a huge test for them. From the body to the soul, everything had to undergo a metamorphosis. Not only that, it was not easy for them to absorb and refine the immortal qi. Every wisp of immortal energy had to go through layers of refinement and extraction before they could obtain a tiny bit of energy to strengthen and fill their meridians. Under such circumstances, they did not know how long they would have to cultivate for before they could absorb enough energy for their own advancement. Chapter 2447. The law of heaven and earth contained in it was even more complicated and profound. It could be said that every step was arduous and difficult. Every expert who could cultivate to the venerable realm and above had endured for an unknown amount of time. Of course, there were those who were extremely talented and took much less time to cultivate than others, but they still managed to reach their current level. However, the immortal spiritual body was different. If one attained the immortal spiritual body, they would naturally be able to absorb immortal spiritual qi. This powerful aura, which was even more powerful than spiritual qi, was as simple as eating and drinking in front of the immortal spiritual body. One could easily refine the power and law of heaven and earth from the immortal spiritual qi. Therefore, no one would not be tempted by the news of the Tianluo grass. However, the group of mercenaries were not fools. Why would the Tianfeng Chu clan leak the news of such an immortal herb? Why would they let them complete the mission? Were they not afraid that they would take it for themselves? After all, no one could resist the temptation of the Tianluo grass. The group of mercenaries was very confused. The leader of a high-ranking mercenary group directly asked the question. If you can get the Tianluo grass, then it's your ability. But is it so easy to get such a peerless immortal herb? Elder Fu's face was full of disdain when he heard the leader's question. If it was so easy to get the Tianluo grass, why would he come to these mercenaries? Did he think that the Tianfeng Chu clan had no one else? If the strength of these itinerant cultivators and mercenaries were to be displayed, the disciples of the Tianfeng Chu clan's branch families would be able to kill them in an instant with the help of their cultivation methods and weapons, even if their cultivation levels were much lower than theirs. If it weren't for the special circumstances, why would they come to these trash? These mercenaries might not think too highly of themselves. Elder Fu's face was full of disdain. His words also made the mercenaries very embarrassed. Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan were the same. These mercenaries were all self-taught geniuses. They relied on their courage, stumbling, and relying on their talent and perseverance to forcefully kill their way out of this cold-blooded and merciless heavenly Tao. Their strength was indeed inferior to those disciples who came from large sects and factions. Because they didn't have a systematic learning system, they didn't have powerful cultivation techniques, and they didn't have any elders who could teach them and point out their cultivation mistakes. Everything they relied on was their own lives and their courage to not be afraid of death. What right did Elder Fu have to look down on them? If they had been born in a big family, or even an ordinary family or sect, they wouldn't have been afraid of Elder Fu at all. In terms of willpower and talent, even the disciples of the 10 great clans might not be able to compete with them. After all, for the mercenaries who had risen from humble beginnings to their current strength, which one of them had talent and strength that was inferior to the disciples of the big families? They just didn't have the resources and background of the disciples of the big clans. In this world, what mattered was not talent and strength but resources. Everyone was sad. They didn't want to accept Elder Fu's disdain, but they couldn't refute him. They were angry but didn't dare to say anything. Chapter 2448. However, that place doesn't belong to the Tianfeng domain. Do you understand now? That place belongs to another star area, a 6-star area called the Flying Star Area. That abandoned high-level continent is right at the edge of the Flying Star Area. The experts of the Tianfeng Chu clan can't take it by themselves, so we need your help. Elder Fu's voice was cold. If the disciple of the Tianfeng Chu clan hadn't been discovered by others when he found the Tianfeng grass, they wouldn't have been in such a passive position. Now another family in the Flying Star Area had also learned about the Tianfeng grass. In order to prevent this information from being leaked, they had tacitly kept it a secret. But at the same time, in order to compete for the ownership of the Tianfeng grass, they made an agreement with each other. That was to let the juniors of their clans fight for the Tianfeng grass. But because of the danger of the Tianfeng grass, they couldn't let the juniors go alone. But if they sent the experts of their clans to guard it, they were worried that the other party would do something to it. Therefore, they made an agreement to hire mercenaries. They would swear to the heavens and earth that these mercenaries weren't their men. Otherwise, they would die on the spot. After the oath, the fight would begin. No matter which family got the Tianfeng grass, the other family wouldn't be able to stop them. Therefore, Elder Fu wasn't worried that someone among the mercenaries would take the Tianfeng grass for himself. How capable was the other party to escape from the pursuit of the two families? Not to mention that the experts of the various clans would be guarding the Forsaken Continent. If the other party could get the Tianfeng grass and escape from their pursuit, they would accept it. After Elder Fu finished speaking, they finally understood what was going on. So that's how it is. The high-class continent discovered by the Heavenly Wind Chu clan was not in the Heavenly Wind region? No wonder they asked them to take action. If that was the case, everything made sense. After all, the fewer people who knew about the Tianfeng grass, the better. Although the Tianfeng Chu clan was powerful, there might be other families in the Tianfeng domain that could compete with them. The Tianfeng grass was in the Flying Star area, which was not related to them. If they went there with great fanfare and were discovered by others, they would be in trouble. Moreover,
It was easy to attract the attention of other aristocratic families. After all, a stalk of Skynet grass was already sufficient to create an extremely valiant genius disciple. Entering the venerable realm overnight was equivalent to many years of bitter cultivation, not to mention a physique like the immortal spiritual body. Who knew how many people coveted it? In the future, when he cultivated, it would be so difficult. It was unknown how many times faster his strength would advance compared to others. Furthermore, it didn't affect his strength at all. His foundation was still as solid as ever. It's like using a powerful pump to suck up water. You can't say that the quality of the water it absorbs isn't good just because it absorbs water faster and more, right? Wasn't it still the same water? But the time it takes to fill up the pool is faster and stronger than you. Everyone thought so and sighed in their hearts. Unfortunately, the heavenly luo grass was not theirs. All right. Everyone nodded in agreement. If that was the case, they had no reason to refuse. The reward given by the Tianfeng Chu family was also very generous. Chapter 2449. The Tianfeng Chu family would even give them some of the cultivation methods and secret manuals that they had given to their affiliated families. Of course, even if they didn't complete the mission, the Tianfeng Chu family wouldn't treat them badly. They would still be rewarded, but they wouldn't be as generous as completing the mission. Everyone was very excited when they heard that. Especially when they heard about the cultivation methods and secret manuals. They couldn't help but feel excited. After all, mercenaries who had been through a lot of bloodshed lacked cultivation methods and secret manuals the most, as well as cultivation experience. When they heard that the Tianfeng Chu family would provide them with these, they were as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan didn't think there was anything wrong with such a mission. Even the rewards of the mission were much better than what they usually received. It was worth it. But they were very worried about Luo Qingtong. If they had known that the Tianfeng Chu family wanted them to fight for the Tianluo grass, they would have objected to Luo Qingtong staying. Now that Elder Fu had forced her to participate in the mission, what should they do? Although the young man's ability was powerful, her strength was too weak. She was only at the peak of the holy venerable realm. She was at the bottom of the mercenaries. After all, even the weakest mercenary among them was at the green venerable realm. The two of them were very worried. Luo Qingtong, on the other hand, was very happy. Tianluo grass. This is a rare opportunity. I didn't expect the Tianfeng Chu family to come here with this mission. Luo Qingtong's eyes were faintly shining with a demonic bloody light. That was the expression of her excitement. Soon the light disappeared. Luo Qingtong didn't expect to encounter such a good thing when she was about to leave Mercenary City in 2 days. She didn't care about the Tianluo grass, which could help her achieve the immortal spiritual body. Instead, she valued its effect of achieving the venerable realm overnight. Luo Qingtong had advanced to the holy venerate realm so far. It was unknown whether it was because she had absorbed Xiao Tuanzi's power and aura, or because she had advanced too quickly. In short, no matter how hard she tried, she was always one step away from breaking through. The venerable realm was right in front of him, but the barrier could be touched and seen. But it just couldn't be broken. It was so hard that it made people feel stifled. Luo Qingtong made a careful calculation. If she were to follow the normal speed of absorbing spiritual energy, she would have to wait a few years before she could break through the barrier of the venerable realm. Otherwise, she would have to wait until Xiao Tuanzi woke up to ask it what was going on. But now neither of these were easy to achieve. Now the appearance of the Tianfeng Chu family had solved her problem. That sky luo grass, if she could obtain it. Luo Qingtong's lips curved up slightly. She looked at Elder Fu's arrogant face and smiled without saying a word. Right at this moment, the voices of Gu Yifeng and the others suddenly rang out. Elder Fu, this matter is really too dangerous. We are willing to do anything for you. But can you give little Seven a way out and not participate in this mission? Pfft. Hearing Gu Yifeng's words, Luo Qingtong almost choked on her own saliva. Brother Gu? She turned to look at Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan, and her lips twitched slightly. It can't be right? Gu Yifeng and the others must not cause trouble. She knew they cared about her. Chapter 2450. As soon as Luo Qingtang finished speaking, Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan each pressed her shoulders. Xiaoqi, don't speak. Let us handle this. If we let you do this, it'll be over. Luo Qingtang stared at Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan, who were staring at Elder Fu, waiting for him to speak. Now she could only hope that Elder Fu would be a little more helpful. Don't agree so easily. Please despise me as much as you can. Perhaps Elder Fu had heard her inner cry. He glanced at her, and Gu Yifeng with a smug look and snorted. What do you think the mission of the Tianfeng Chu clan is? Since you wanted to come, then you can't leave now. With that, he flicked his sleeves and left. Luo Xiaoqi had such a great influence on Gu Yifeng and the others. How could he let her leave alone? What's more, didn't Gu Yifeng and the others just embarrass him for Luo Xiaoqi? Elder Fu deliberately asked Luo Qingtang to stay just to see Gu Yifeng, and the others' annoyed and regretful expressions. He was very pleased with himself, but he didn't know that Luo Qingtang was giving him a thumbs up in her heart. Good job. Old man, you're pretty awesome. Ahem. Luo Qingtang coughed softly and looked at Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan. It's okay, brother Gu, brother Hu Zhan. I'll go with you. It won't be dangerous. Besides, everyone will protect me. Is that so? Luo Qingtang raised her eyebrows and looked at the mercenaries not far away. Yes, yes. Everyone looked at Gu Yifeng and Hu Zhan as if they were going to eat them. How could they dare to stay any longer? After nodding his head, he ran out like a wisp of smoke. Not to mention anything else, they still had to explain the mission to the people in the square. The Tianfeng Chu clan's conditions were so generous. Coupled with the allure of the resources in the high-class continent, everyone was very satisfied with this mission. The only downside was that they had involved Luo Qingtang this time, causing her to have to go on a mission with them. But weren't Gu Yifeng and the rest also involved in this matter? It wasn't like they were the only ones speaking up for Luo Qingtang. The two of them had spoken up as well. Moreover, if Gu Yifeng hadn't provoked them first and forced them to speak, they wouldn't have stood up at that time. The group of people ran away like a wisp of smoke. Even the leader of the Black Iron mercenary group slowly led his men away. He was waiting to see how unlucky Luo Xiaoqi would be after going to that abandoned continent with them. She might not even survive the first day. And fight with him. The leader of the Black Iron mercenary group was in a good mood. He didn't expect that Luo Qingtang would have such benefits after being invited by those mercenary groups. Not only did he show his face in front of old Fu, but he also talked to him. And Luo Qingtang was forced to go to that abandoned continent. He didn't have to do it himself. The other party might not be able to come out alive. It was really refreshing. The leader of the Black Iron mercenary group leisurely walked away. Before he left, he glanced at Luo Qingtang, Gu Yifeng, and the others proudly. Hu Zhan was so angry that his teeth itched. He almost beat him up, but was stopped by Luo Qingtang. Big brother Hu Zhan, don't mind them. Let's go back. I have something good to show you. Luo Qingtang thought for a long time. This time, with her strength and her blood eyes, she might not have an accident on the abandoned continent. Chapter 2451. She originally planned to write down the immortal secret manuals in her mind after leaving Mercenary City, and give some to Hu Zhan and the others for them to cultivate. At that time, when their foundation was sufficient, Hu Zhan and the others' strength would also be greatly improved. After all, Hu Zhan and the others only lacked a little bit of foundation and resources compared to the children of those big families. And among them, foundation was the most important. Hu Zhan and the others could earn resources by themselves. With foundation, what resources couldn't they want to improve their strength? But without foundation, Hu Zhan and the others couldn't go to other places to get those cultivation methods and secret manuals. Ordinary cultivation methods and secret manuals, as long as they were good, were the treasures of the big families and sections. If Hu Zhan and the others didn't join those sects and families, they wouldn't be able to get them at all. Even if they were lucky enough to get them, once they revealed it after cultivating and were found out by others, it would be a dead end. But the cultivation methods and secret manuals that Luo Qingtong taught them were different. They were engraved by her from those cultivation sects on Earth. In this different world, they were unique and weren't afraid of being found out at all. During this period of time, Hu Zhan, Gu Yifeng, and the others took good care of her. Logically speaking, Luo Qingtong couldn't just watch them make a move. What's more, these cultivation methods and secret manuals were the reward she wanted to repay them from the beginning. Luo Qingtong thought, and immediately brought Hu Zhan and Gu Yifeng back to the Red Flame mercenary group's encampment. The latter and the others were confused for a while. Ouyang Yingyu and the others were still waiting for news in the square outside. Seeing a group of high-ranking mercenary groups come out in high spirits, they thought they had encountered such a good thing. But looking at Hu Zhan and Gu Yifeng's sad expressions, they felt that something was wrong. What's going on? Are you all crying at a funeral? Ouyang Yingyu looked at Hu Zhan and Gu Yifeng with a strange expression. Hu Zhan was fine. This guy was born with a screw loose in his head. But what was going on with Gu Yifeng? Their leader had always been the most calm. Everyone stared at the two of them. Hu Zhan looked at them and was about to speak. On the other side, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded in their ears. Brother Gu, this is for you. After Luo Qingtong returned to the Red Flame mercenary group's encampment, she started to spread out the rice paper and started to write. Her background was too complicated, and it wasn't convenient for her to tell Gu Yifeng and the others. So she directly wrote down the cultivation techniques and secret manuals that she had prepared for them. Her blood-red pupils spun rapidly. Luo Qingtong copied all the mysterious methods and matters of cultivation in those secret manuals on white paper. In just a short while, there were several cultivation methods, secret manuals, and martial skills piled up beside her. Luo Qingtong handed these cultivation methods and martial skills to Gu Yifeng and the others. The latter and the others were still blaming themselves. Just as he was about to ask her what it was, he suddenly froze. This is. Gu Yifeng's voice trembled. He looked at the books that Luo Qingtong had just written, and there was still ink on the paper. His heart was filled with indescribable shock and excitement. Little Seven, we are sorry. This is. Hu Zhan also came over at this time, wanting to apologize to Luo Qingtong. However, when he came in front of Gu Yifeng, his eyes widened in an instant. Chapter 2452. Oh my God! He pinched his thigh fiercely, and after a heart-wrenching pain for a while, he finally believed that everything in front of him was not a dream, but real. Oh my God! These martial arts manuals are all real. Hu Zhan looked at the martial arts manuals handed over by Luo Qingtong and laughed dryly. He almost wanted to ask Luo Qingtong if she wrote them casually for fun. However, before he could say anything, he slapped himself and woke himself up. What the hell was she writing casually? If she hadn't already memorized them by heart, even if she flew, she wouldn't have been able to recite all these martial arts manuals. The only explanation was that these martial arts manuals were all real. Moreover, Luo Qingtong knew how to use them all. Therefore, she was able to write them down from memory for them. Golden Sword Chop. World Return to One Technique. Mandarin Duck Twin Sword. No Heart and No Nonsense Technique. One by one, the names of the martial arts manuals jumped into Hu Zhan's eyes. All of them were martial arts manuals and names that he had never heard of before. Moreover, the cultivation levels indicated on these martial arts manuals were all above the venerable realm. There were even some in the human martial arts realm and the earth martial arts realm. Naturally, this was automatically calculated by Luo Qingtong according to the cultivation levels in this strange world. After all, the immortal cultivation manuals on Earth and the cultivation system in this strange world were completely different. Luo Qingtong carefully estimated the power and effect of those martial arts manuals and marked them with their respective cultivation levels. She only took out 2 martial arts manuals of the Earth martial arts realm. With Hu Zhan and Gu Yifeng's current strength, the first to enter the Earth martial arts realm would definitely be the 2 of them. Under such circumstances, 2 martial arts manuals were enough. Too many would be useless. Moreover, in the future, if the people of the Red Flame mercenary group didn't change their original intentions, Luo Qingtong would naturally give them more benefits. In this life, she wasn't afraid of giving benefits to others, but she was afraid of giving benefits to the wrong people. Therefore, no matter what Luo Qingtong did, she would always leave some leeway. Gu Yifeng, Hu Zhan, and the others were loyal to her, so she naturally wouldn't be stingy with good things. In this world, if you want something, you have to exchange it with something. If you don't have anything, you can only use your heart and feelings. After all, it was impossible for him to not pay a price. They were both human beings for the first time. Why should she give whatever she had to the other party unconditionally? Sorry, but if she didn't like people, then she wouldn't give it to them. Hu Zhan's shocked attitude attracted the curiosity of Ouyang Yingyu and the others. The latter stood up and walked over. What are you two doing? With all this commotion, people who don't know would think that you guys picked it up. Where are the treasures? Ouyang Yingyu's words were stuck in her mouth, but it was too late to say them out loud. She looked at the stack of secret manuals that Luo Qingtong took out in front of her in shock. She was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped. Wait, I think I'm dreaming. Ouyang Yingyu raised her hand and covered her forehead and eyes in front of everyone's puzzled eyes. About 2 seconds later, ah! A sharp, ear-piercing and shocking female voice resounded in the hall. Quick, quick, quick! Quickly cover my mouth. Ouyang Yingyu was going crazy. It's true. Damn. In front of Luo Qingtong, there really was a pile of secret manuals and martial arts manuals. Chapter 2453. Especially the leader, who was usually such a quiet and solemn person. She was so shocked that her mouth couldn't close. How long had it been like this? And that bastard, Hu Zhan, the floor under his feet was about to collapse. Couldn't he use a little less strength? Asking someone to fix it costs money. As Ouyang Yingyu thought about it, she screamed and asked the people around her to quickly cover her mouth. Her screams couldn't be stopped. When Ouyang Yingyu screamed, the other members of the Red Flame mercenary group were all shocked and gathered around. Then, each of them had a look of excitement, shock, and disbelief. Oh my God! Martial arts! Secret manuals! Martial arts! They only saw it from afar at the auction, and could only buy the lowest quality goods at the highest price. But it appeared in front of them. The group of people from the Red Flame mercenary group were shocked to the extreme, their faces all flushed red. Quick! Close the door of the hall first. Gu Yifeng was the first to come back to his senses, and then he said to the 2 members of the Red Flame mercenary group who were closest to him. The 2 of them seemed to have woken up from a dream, and immediately ran to the door and slammed it shut. Oh my God! Everyone's heart was beating so fast that it was about to jump out. It was really 2F** king exciting. This was definitely the most exciting and shocking day they had ever experienced. Little 7. Gu Yifeng raised his hand and pressed on Luo Qingtong's shoulder, pushing her to sit on the stool next to the table. His heart was full of excitement, and the fingers that pressed on Luo Qingtong were faintly trembling. Little 7. He took a deep breath and tried to stabilize his voice, and said to Luo Qingtong, "These martial arts and secret manuals, where did you get them?" He took a deep breath and said, "Are you a young master who ran out from some big family to gain experience? These martial arts and secret manuals are all in your family?" Luo Qingtong was stunned when she heard his words. When she took out these martial arts and secret manuals, she knew that Gu Yifeng and the others would guess her identity. She was also wondering if she should tell them the truth. But after thinking about it, she decided not to. She was in danger now, and it would be fine if Gu Yifeng and the others didn't know. But if they knew, it might harm them. Therefore, Luo Qingtong was thinking about how to tell them. But who would have thought that before she could say anything, Gu Yifeng had already found an identity and reason for her. A young master from a big family? Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. For a moment, she didn't know how to answer them. Forget it, they've misunderstood. Forget it then. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she stopped talking. And Gu Yifeng and the others, Luo's TTS. God T. T. Teet. You look so smart.
But you don't seem to know anything about the outside world. Of course she didn't know. Luo Qingtong complained in her heart. She was suddenly sent to Tianfeng region, and she was very curious about everything in this region, okay? As for those abilities, she couldn't possibly not reveal anything, right? Otherwise, how could she earn money to gather information? Chapter 2454. The latter was still excitedly asking her, "Hey Xiaoqi, which family are you from?" "There's no super family with the surname Luo in this Tianfeng domain." Hu Zhan's idea was very simple. Luo Qingtong was able to take out these secret manuals, in addition to her ability and shrewdness. The young man's family must be extraordinary, but in this Tianfeng domain, he didn't seem to have heard of such a family. Luo Qingtong's expression froze. Just as she was thinking about how to cover up this lie, Ouyang Yingyu scolded Hu Zhan. "Aren't you annoying? Xiaoqi originally escaped from her family. Who knows how her dog family treats her? Maybe not at all. Xiaoqi must have changed her surname, or she doesn't want to talk about that family at all. Don't mention it." Gu Yifeng also had this intention, but with his identity, he couldn't say anything to Hu Zhan. Ouyang Yingyu's words made him feel a lot better. That's right. He looked at Luo Qingtong softly and said, "If Xiaoqi doesn't want to say it, then forget it. We won't force you. It's just that." He looked at the secret manuals in his hand and said in a deep voice, "We can't accept these secret manuals. Xiaoqi, are these your family's treasures? You'd better take them all back. Otherwise, when you're discovered in the future, you'll suffer." Gu Yifeng was very touched by Luo Qingtong's action of taking out these secret manuals for them. The young man's temperament was pure and sincere. He was not only guarded against others, but also extremely pure and kind. This kind of secret manual was actually given to them to use. But because of this, Gu Yifeng and the others couldn't accept his secret manuals. Otherwise, once they were discovered, they could escape. But what about Luo Qingtong? If she was caught and brought back to the family, what kind of punishment would she receive? Gu Yifeng didn't dare to imagine. Historically, people who betrayed their family didn't have a good ending. Therefore, even if Gu Yifeng and the others wanted these secret manuals, they couldn't accept them. Otherwise, he would be harming Luo Qingtong. As soon as Gu Yifeng's words left his mouth, Ouyang Yingyu, Hu Zhan, and the others seemed to have thought of the same thing. The light in their eyes dimmed, and they immediately restrained the joyous and shocked expressions on their faces. They hurriedly said, "That's right. Little Seven, take back all these cultivation methods and manuals. We can't accept it." When everyone spoke, even Hu Zhan hurriedly put back the secret manual in his hand. He pushed it in front of Luo Qingtong and urged, "That's right, Little Seven, quickly take this thing back." Luo Qingtong looked at them, and her heart felt even more at ease. She had not misjudged him. Even when these secret manuals were delivered to them, they could resist the urge to take them. It could be seen that he really cared about her, and was genuinely concerned about her safety. Luo Qingtong thought and suddenly smiled. "Big brother Gu, big brother Hu Zhan, big sister Yingyu, you don't have to worry. I obtained all of these secret manuals by accident. They don't belong to any family or family. You can rest assured. Nothing will happen. My family members also don't know." At this point, Luo Qingtong's lips twitched slightly. She thought of the dog family that Hu Zhan had just mentioned. The expression on her face was simply indescribable. Chapter 2455. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she suddenly smiled. When Hu Zhan and the others heard her words, they were stunned. Their eyes, which had dimmed down, suddenly lit up. "Really?" Hu Zhan, the uncouth man, jumped up immediately. He grabbed Luo Qingtong with an excited expression and shook her fiercely. "Little Seven, you can't lie to me." "No. I swear to the heavens that this secret cultivation method has nothing to do with any of the sects or families here." Luo Qingtong's voice was sly, and she deliberately made some changes to the word here. Originally, these secret cultivation method books were not from this world. She was not wrong in saying so. Hu Zhan, Ouyang Yingyu, and the others heard this and immediately jumped up in joy.
Gu Yifeng also had a smile on his face. Luo Qingtong looked at them and quickly said, "But Big Brother Gu, if you get this secret cultivation method book, you must not tell others where it came from. If others ask, just say that you got it by luck." When Luo Qingtong said this, Hu Zhan and the others immediately nodded and said, "Don't worry, little seven, we know what to say." Everyone naturally knew that Luo Qingtong wanted to hide her identity. They thought that Luo Qingtong did not want to be caught by the family, so she said this. But only Luo Qingtong knew that this was to protect their safety. Not revealing the origin of these cultivation methods and secret manuals would be of great benefit to both of them. Otherwise, it was hard to say when someone would deliberately come to investigate her. Especially those black-clothed men. Speaking of those people, Luo Qingtong also thought of the strange man who patted her chest that night. Who was that person? Was he one of those black-clothed men? While Luo Qingtong was thinking in her heart, in another part of Mercenary City, Yu Miqian, who had changed into another set of clothes and was covered in a black cloak, looked coldly at the black-clothed man kneeling in front of him. "Can't find out?" His voice was icy cold. The man who appeared outside Luo Qingtong's room that day was very mysterious. It seemed that he was there for Luo Xiaoqi's identity. He didn't know what he was trying to confirm. Could it be that someone else had already found out about Chen Meng and the things he knew behind the scenes? However, if that was the case, it was impossible for foster father to not mention it to him. After all, they still had to rely on him to find out who was behind Chen Meng. As Yu Mingxian thought of this, her eyes narrowed. "Please forgive me, master. That person's strength is very high. After we followed him, we all lost him." That night, Yi Qianxian came to investigate Luo Qingtong's identity. When he left, Yu Miqian had her people follow him. He didn't expect that he couldn't find any trace of the other party. Furthermore, the other party's strength was so strong that he was able to silently shake off the people around him. Yu Miqian frowned. At this moment, the black-clothed man gathered his courage and said, "Master, there is a letter from the Central Inscription Association urging you to go back quickly. You see." After Yu Miqian found out Luo Qingtong's identity, he didn't report it. Instead, he killed all the people around him who had objections to him. Now the Central Inscription Association's people had become suspicious and were urging him to go back. After all, he had already lost the person. Why would Yu Mingqian stay outside? Yu Miqian naturally knew the true meaning of the Central Inscription Association's urging. Chapter 2456. "Oh, you're really afraid that I'll find out what's hidden behind it?" Yu Mingxian sneered, his face full of mockery. He had only agreed to hunt down Chen Meng on a whim. He didn't expect his foster father to be so nervous. When he realized that he couldn't catch him, he immediately called him back. Yu Mingxian suspected that his previous guess was right. In fact, when he was in Tianfeng Inscription City, he had the chance to capture Chen Meng alive. But at that time, he had doubts in his heart. In addition, he was interested in Luo Qingtong, so he let it go. He didn't expect the young man named Xie Qi to be so powerful that he could kill Chen Meng directly and escape from his hands. Now that he finally gained a little trust from Xie Qi, how could he leave at this time? But he couldn't ignore the urging of the Central Inscription Association. If they were really suspicious and sent people to investigate, everything he did and the young man named Xie Qi would be exposed. If possible, Yu Mingxian didn't want Luo Qingtong to be discovered by the Central Inscription Association. The secret of the inscription of God on her body could only be his. Find something for the Central Inscription Association to do. His voice was casual, and his fingers tapped on the table. The matter of the Immortal Slayer Palace hasn't been solved yet, right? It's said that my foster father has been tracking down the remnants of the Immortal Slayer Palace. It's time for them to show up. You guys go and arrange this. Yes. The group of men in black immediately bowed their heads and answered. Some people wanted to say something, but when they saw Yu Mingxuan's eyes, they immediately trembled and lowered their heads, not daring to speak again. Only one man in black, after receiving Yu Mingxuan's order, asked in a low voice, "Master, this matter can only be put on hold for a while. When are you going to go back?"
The Central Inscription Association was not easy to fool. Even with the matter of the Immortal Slayer Palace outside, there was no way to fool the Central Inscription Association for too long. If the master didn't go back, sooner or later they would be suspicious. Well, after a while, Yu Mingxuan's face was indifferent. He thought of the scene when he stood in front of Luo Qingtong. He had almost won the other party's trust. At that time, he would be able to find a way to ask about the god's inscription. However, this matter could not be rushed. Of course, if he still couldn't gain the other party's complete trust, then he could only resort to extreme measures. No matter what, he had to get the news of the god's inscription. A cold light flashed in Yu Mingqian's eyes. Meanwhile, on the other side of Mercenary City, where Yi Qianxian and the others were staying, Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others had also found out the purpose of the Tianfeng Chu family's visit. Tianluo grass? Yi Qianxian looked at them. Yes, master. It's the Tianluo grass. As Fengyu spoke, there was excitement in her eyes. Master, the appearance of Tianluo grass is very rare. Your meridians are severely damaged now. It's even worse than when you met the evil doctor. You can't use your full strength anymore. The existence of Tianluo grass can ease the injury of your meridians, so that your meridians will not continue to deteriorate. Master, the Tianfeng Chu family is now gathering mercenaries. Before they get the Tianluo grass, they will seal off Mercenary City, saying that they are investigating something. Chapter 2457. Fengyu's words sounded a little cautious. Because Yi Qianxian used to hate people mentioning these things. His heavenly pulse body was destined to be incurable. He would die at the age of 28. Even if his life was temporarily extended, he would not exceed 30. This was the fate of generations of the heavenly pulse body, and so was he. Therefore, even if Yi Qianxian knew that there were many ways to slow down the deterioration of his meridians, he was too lazy to try them. After all, those things could only treat the symptoms, but not the root cause. If he could not completely solve the problem of the heavenly pulse body, even if there were many ways to extend his life and slow down the deterioration of his meridians, what was the point of Yi Qianxian? He was destined to die. What difference did it make if he died sooner or later? However, Luo Qingtong's appearance changed everything. Yi Qianxian's meridians were strengthened. Therefore, he was able to fight with all his strength this time. He broke through his defense and left Tiandu, angering the other party. However, because of this battle, Yi Qianxian's meridians, which had been repaired and strengthened by Luo Qingtong, fell again. Now they were not even 5% strong. They were even deteriorating and falling. Fortunately, after Elder Yu returned to Miracle Medical Valley, he gained some inspiration from Luo Qingtong and made some progress. He developed a new medicinal liquid and managed to stabilize Yi Qianren's broken meridians. Otherwise, Yi Qianxian might not even be able to stand here. Therefore, Fengyu persuaded Yi Qianxian to get the Tianluo grass. After all, it contained the power of heaven and earth, and was nourished by the great Tao. It was too rare. Master was not willing to waste time looking for the evil doctor to get those things. Beiqing and Fengyu were also very worried. Now that they finally got an opportunity, and it was right in front of them, they naturally did not want to let it go. Master, do you agree? It won't delay the search for the evil doctor anyway. Moreover, the Tianfeng Chu family has made such a big fuss. If the evil doctor is really in the Tianfeng domain, he might have gotten the news from other places and joined them. As soon as Fengyu said this, Yi Qianxian's eyes flickered. He looked at Fengyu. What the latter said was not impossible. That woman was the most cunning and cunning. Although the Tianfeng Chu family kept their secrets well, that woman could even deceive him. She had deceived him more than once. So what if she dug out this little secret? All right. Yi Qianxian nodded. You guys go and make the arrangements. We will form a mercenary group and go over. Yi Qianxian did not intend to join any mercenary group. After all, he did not like to be bound by others. Moreover, his identity was too sensitive. If he joined other mercenary groups, it was inevitable that his identity would be investigated. At that time,
It would easily arouse the suspicions of others. Yes, Beiqing, Feng Yu. And the others were wild with joy at Yi Qianxian's words. They originally thought that they would need more time to convince Yi Qianxian. They did not expect him to agree so quickly. Sure enough, no matter what it was, as long as they brought up the evil doctor, everything would be right. As long as it had something to do with the evil doctor, there was nothing that Master would not agree to. As the group thought this, they immediately went to make the preparations, in case Yi Qianxian changed his mind later. Among them, Beiqing ran the fastest. He had been holding it in for a long time. When they arrived at the high-level abandoned continent that the Tianfeng Chu family had mentioned, he could be said to be liberated. However, in order not to attract the attention of others, their strength and cultivation were all sealed. They only lifted a little to adapt to the level of strength and cultivation in the Tianfeng domain. Otherwise he would feel even better. But it did not matter. It was good to have a fight. The group ran quickly. Yi Qianxian stood outside the window and looked at the scene in Mercenary City with deep eyes. Chapter 2458. Qing. Yi Qianxian's figure appeared downstairs in an instant and grabbed the shoulder of the person in front of him. His strength was so great that the latter was forced to be pulled over by him. However, after seeing the other person's face, Yi Qianxian's eyes suddenly became cold and dim. The word Tong was in his mouth, but before it could be completely spat out, it had been swallowed back. It wasn't her. Yi Qianxian looked at the young man in front of him coldly and turned to leave, but he was stopped by the latter. Hey brother, why did you stop me just now? Luo Qingtong looked at the person in front of her with shining eyes. The other person was tall, and his face was covered with a white jade mask. She didn't know why, but he gave her a very familiar feeling. He must have seen her somewhere before. Luo Qingtong wouldn't doubt her intuition. This person should have seen her somewhere before. Moreover, it wasn't just an ordinary person who knew him. It was very likely that they had fought before or something else. When Luo Qingtong stared at the mask on his face, Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. After glancing at Luo Qingtong with a complicated look, he said coldly, "Nothing." He flicked his sleeves and was about to leave. Yi Qianxian was very upset that he mistook Luo Qingtong for Luo Xiaoqi twice in a row. He didn't know if it was because he missed Luo Qingtong too much, or the way she dressed up as a man and wandered around the black field gave him too much room for imagination. Now that he thought about it, even if Luo Qingtong was Xieqi before, she might not dress up as a man after leaving Tianfeng Inscription City for safety reasons. Someone was watching her in the dark. For Luo Qingtong, dressing up as a woman was the best way to get rid of others. However, Yi Qianxian didn't know that Luo Qingtong really did think that way. However, who asked her to be so deceitful back then? She thought that Song Cheng had summoned her because he had enemies. In order to avoid the enemies of the Immortal Slayer Palace, she changed her appearance. Currently, this large birthmark couldn't be restored. If she were to change back into a woman's clothing, that would only attract more enemies. Even if she returned to the true Spill continent in the future, she wouldn't be able to feel at ease. Thus, she had chosen to disguise herself as a young man. This way, when she regained her identity as a young girl in the future, she would be able to get rid of all these troubles. Just as Yi Qianxian was about to fling his sleeves away, Luo Qingtong suddenly raised her hand and grabbed onto his sleeve, refusing to let go. Brother. Luo Qingtong smiled at Yi Qianxian and said, "It's said that a chance encounter is better than a chance encounter. Look at how fated we are. You didn't pull anyone but me on the street. I feel that the fate between the two of us is really predestined. Do you think we should be friends? My name is Luo Xiaoqi. What's yours?" Luo Qingtong talked nonsense all the way, but on the surface, she was paying attention to Yi Qianxian. However, the latter's face was completely covered by the mask on his face. No matter how Luo Qingtong looked, she couldn't see his face. The other party's strength must be extremely strong, and this mask was certainly not an ordinary item. Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes weren't fake. If it wasn't an extremely powerful treasure, or the other party's strength, ordinary things that could hide one's aura and face would be ineffective against her. but she couldn't see through the person in front of her. Chapter 2459. Luo Qingtang thought of the mysterious man who came to her room last night to investigate. The same mask, the same powerful strength. And when the other party grabbed her, he blurted out the word Qing. Right? What did he want to call her? Qingtang. Luo Qingtang raised her eyebrows. One time wasn't enough. Did he want to test her twice? Luo Qingtang was very suspicious that this masked man was the mysterious man who came to investigate her identity last night. The other party still hadn't given up on suspecting her identity? He really didn't give up. Then she would accompany him to have some fun. Luo Qingtang thought so and looked at Yi Qianxian with a smile. The latter was irritated and didn't want to stay here any longer. He suddenly waved his sleeve and was about to leave. I don't think we are fated to be together. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. Fated to be fated? The other party really dared to say anything. Who was fated to be together with her? In his life, Luo Qingtang was the only one fated to be together with him. Thinking of this, Yi Qianxian suddenly left. He didn't want to be entangled with the other party. Since it wasn't Luo Qingtang, there was no need to be entangled. What's more, the other party and Luo Qingtang resembled each other, which would only make him annoyed. Hey brother, don't go. Luo Qingtang hurriedly grabbed the corner of his sleeve when he was about to leave. She already suspected that the other party was the mysterious man who investigated her identity last night. How could she let him leave so quickly? However, just as she spoke, she heard a tearing sound. Yi Qianren's expression was unsightly as he looked at his sleeves being torn from the elbow, revealing his smooth and muscular arm. You! He looked at the youth in front of him with cold anger. At this moment, Luo Qingtang was also looking at the half sleeve in her arms in a daze. Oh my God! She swore that she only used a little strength. How could she tear off the other party's sleeve? Cough. Brother, the quality of your clothes is a bit poor. Luo Qingtang laughed dryly as she looked at the other party's cold and angry eyes and said. The latter snorted and didn't want to talk to her at all. What poor quality clothes? It was because when Yi Qianren was about to shake off Luo Qingtang, for some reason, she suddenly felt an extremely irritated and unreasonable emotion. Then, she fiercely pulled back the force she used to shake off Luo Qingtang, which was why her sleeves were torn. Yi Qianren attributed this to the resemblance between Luo Shaoqi and Luo Qingtang. For some reason, when he saw the other party's eyes that were as cunning as Luo Qingtang's, he did not want to attack the other party. Your sleeve. It turned out that Yi Qianxian didn't care about her at all. However, Luo Qingtang wasn't annoyed at all. Didn't want to talk to her? Luo Qingtang's lips curled up slightly. The smile on her lips was unusually evil and charming. Unfortunately, it's not up to you. Didn't he want to investigate her identity? She would let him investigate it properly. Luo Qingtang snorted and stuffed Yi Qianxian's sleeve into her arms. She was going to ask Gu Yifeng and the others to help investigate Yi Qianxian's identity when she went back. With the other party's appearance and characteristics, it shouldn't be difficult to find them in Mercenary City. And Mercenary City was now blocked by the Tianfeng Chu family. No one could go out. Chapter 2460. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtang immediately hummed a tune and rushed towards the pharmacy. She had just come out to buy medicinal herbs. Luo Qingtang didn't know what dangers she would encounter in this high-level abandoned continent, so she had to be prepared. She didn't want to fail miserably before she got what she wanted. After Luo Qingtang left, Yi Qianxian also returned to the inn where he was staying with a cold expression. Bei Qing and Feng Yu had just finished their business and came back. Seeing their master walking in like this, they were stunned. Everyone's jaws almost dropped to the ground. Master, what's wrong with you? Feng Yu and the others were fine. Although they were shocked, they didn't ask. However, Bei Qing, who was careless and insensitive, couldn't help but point at Yi Qianxian's exposed hand and ask, "What do you think?" Yi Qianxian looked at him with a dangerous expression. Before Bei Qing could finish speaking, Feng Yu covered his mouth. Master, I suddenly remembered that the level of our mercenary group is too low. When we participate in the mission, we may be treated as cannon fodder. Then we may lose the opportunity to get the Tianluo grass. I'll go with Bei Qing to upgrade the mercenary group's level, Feng Yu said as he pulled Bei Qing and ran away. Bei Qing's mouth was covered by Feng Yu. He struggled for a long time as he was dragged away. Feng Yu, are you crazy? The two of us are going to upgrade the mercenary group's level. Don't you know that in order to upgrade a mercenary group's level, besides getting points from completing missions, you can also challenge stronger mercenary groups? You're challenging a mercenary group. Do you want the two of us to be beaten badly? One had to know that their strength and cultivation were still sealed. Bei Qing's eyes widened. He didn't know what Feng Yu was thinking. Feng Yu looked at him and didn't want to talk to him. This stupid husky. If he didn't say that, he would be sent by his master to deal with those mercenary groups. She really didn't know what to say, but she just had to talk about things that her master shouldn't ask. Sooner or later, he would be killed by his carelessness. However, Feng Yu thought of Yi Qianxian's expression just now. It seemed that although her master's expression was angry and cold, but it seemed that there wasn't much hostility or killing intent. What was going on? Who was it that was able to provoke master to such an extent, and yet remain unscathed? Feng Yu naturally knew that Yi Qianxian wasn't injured. If Yi Qianxian had made a move, his expression wouldn't be like this. It seemed that the master was simply angry. Strange, Feng Yu pondered as she dragged Bei Qing away. Yi Qianren, on the other hand, had a cold expression as she watched them leave. After Bei Qing and Feng Yu left, the others didn't dare to stay by his side. What a joke. When the master was angry, whoever was by his side would be unlucky. Didn't they see Bei Qing's miserable appearance? If Feng Yu hadn't acted quickly, he would have been even more miserable. Now the two of them were going to challenge those mercenary groups. Even if they only challenged some ordinary mercenary groups, it was enough to make them suffer. With this thought in mind, everyone immediately dispersed in tacit understanding. I remember that there are still some things that I haven't done. I have some too. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.